In today's video, we'll be talking about Conor McGregor joining the WWE, Georges St. Pierre's possible return to the octagon, and top UFC fighters like Ngannou that benefited financially from leaving the UFC. We'll be starting off with Conor joining the WWE. McGregor's manager, Audie Attar, has been dropping some bombshell hints amid all the USA drama and uncertainty about a potential clash with Michael Chandler. You won't believe it, but there's talk about the Notorious one possibly making a splash in the world of WWE. Yeah, you heard that right, the WWE. The idea has been gaining traction, and Attar spilled the beans in interviews, revealing that discussions have gone down between Team McGregor and folks over at the WWE. And you know what? It kinda makes sense. With all that charisma, showmanship, and larger-than-life personality, McGregor would be a perfect fit for the professional wrestling scene. Can you imagine him trash-talking and entertaining a global audience in the squared circle? Epic! Now, no official confirmation yet, but the possibility of a crossover has got fans and sports enthusiasts going wild. It could be a brilliant move for McGregor, giving him a fresh platform to shine on and captivating a whole new set of fans in the wrestling community. But if he does move to the WWE, what happens to his speculated bout with Michael Chandler? Well, as of the time of publishing this video, there's been no official word on the fight being postponed. The hype has been real, especially after their rival coach gig on the Ultimate Fighter reality series. However, there are some major unknowns in play. The Notorious hasn't returned to the USADA drug testing pool after that leg injury against Dustin Poirier. You know the drill, fighters gotta spend at least 6 months in the testing pool and pass those negative tests before they can step back into the octagon, according to USADA regulations. On top of that, a sexual assault allegation is also hanging over McGregor's head, and that might throw a wrench into his future fights too. At this point, it's like a roller coaster ride of uncertainties. UFC president, Dana White, says the McGregor vs. Chandler fight might still happen this year, but honestly, some MMA specialists and fans are skeptical. Michael Chandler is still staying optimistic, but others think it's time for him to explore other possibilities if this matchup doesn't pan out. Next is UFC fighters that benefited financially from leaving the UFC. There's always been the issue of the UFC underpaying their talents, and a few fighters who left the company have actually benefited from doing so. An example is Francis Ngannou. Everyone thought he fumbled the bag by leaving the UFC, but we guess he didn't. Francis Ngannou, the powerhouse of the heavyweight division, shocked the entire combat sports world by vacating his UFC title. It was definitely a bold move, but his story didn't end there. UFC president Dana White spilled the beans, claiming Ngannou turned down the most lucrative contract ever offered because he wanted to take on lower-level competition. However, here's where it gets really interesting. Ngannou had his eyes on boxing as well as MMA, but things seemed to hit a rough patch. Negotiations with boxers went nowhere, and even top promotions like Bare Knuckle FC and One Championship gave him the cold shoulder. But not the PFL. Ngannou made a slammin' move by signing with the promotion, and the deal? Oh, it's sweet. We're talking about a lucrative contract, folks, with a guaranteed high 7-figure purse for each fight. And then, Ngannou would be stepping into the boxing ring to face none other than the baddest heavyweight boxer on the entire planet, Tyson Fury. So while Ngannou's PFL debut is expected to go down in the first quarter of 2024, he's expected to face Fury on October 28, 2023 in Saudi Arabia, with a life-changing amount for pay. Another fighter that benefited from leaving the UFC is Rory MacDonald. Back in the day, Rory was touted to be the future UFC welterweight champion, no doubt about it. But in 2016, he threw everyone a curveball when he decided to let his contract run and venture into the realm of free agency. Oh yeah, the MMA world was buzzing with excitement, wondering where this talented warrior would land. And guess what? Bellator, the major player in the game, swooped in and made the ultimate move by signing Rory. It was epic, with fans and analysts alike talking about it for days on end. Fast forward a bit, and Rory went on to claim the Bellator throne, becoming their welterweight champion. Now, some folks said his performances in Bellator weren't quite reaching the same insane levels we saw in the UFC, but hey, he was still bringing the heat and smashing opponents like a wrecking ball. But here's where things got even more interesting. You see, Bellator gave their fighters the green light to rock those sweet sponsors. Unlike the UFC, which was shackling its fighters to Reebok with a standard payout, Bellator let their athletes embrace those sponsors and cash in on some serious money. Let me break it down for you. Before Bellator 192, MacDonald bagged a cool $250,000 just for repping the Dash cryptocurrency at the event. Oh, and that's way more than what Reebok threw at all the fighters at a UFC event that happened in Austin, which was a whopping $165,000 total. Talk about a money-making machine. Now, here's where it gets wild. Back in his UFC days, Rory took home only $59,000 for a fight contract. But when he stepped into the Bellator cage for Bellator 192, he snagged a juicy $100,000. And that's minus all the sponsorship bonuses. And then there's the man himself, the former UFC lightweight champ, Anthony Showtime Pettis. Now, in the PFL, he might have gone 1-4, but let me tell you, he's laughing all the way to the bank after each fight. For every appearance in the PFL, this man is raking in a jaw-dropping base purse of a cool $750,000. And hold on to your seats, because that's not the end of the story. You see, Pettis is a multi-talented fighter. Not only does he excel in the MMA cage, but he's also laced up those boxing gloves. And guess what? He took on none other than the boxing legend, Roy Jones Jr., and emerged victorious with a unanimous decision win. And you know what that meant? Another whopping $650,000 in his pocket. So, let's do the math, folks. Add up those PFL appearances, and we're looking at a hefty bankroll. And then throw in that boxing bout on the side, and Showtime Pettis is making it rain. He's come a long way from his UFC 249 payday, where he earned $310,000. Yeah, that was nice, but now he's taking home more than double that amount with the PFL. Talk about leveling up. So does the UFC really treat its fighters poorly when it comes to pay? Or is there just more money out there? The greatest UFC welterweight champion of all time and living legend, Georges St. Pierre, is finally making his epic combat sports comeback, and it's gonna be one for the ages. On December 9th, GSP is set to clash with none other than the legendary NICK DIAZ in a thrilling grappling event hosted by the UFC. GSP seems pumped for this showdown, and guess what? He's taking things to the next level by inviting his old UFC rival, the outspoken Michael Bisping, to join him on the same card. In an exclusive interview with Bisping, GSP revealed that he and his team, along with the UFC, are all geared up for this epic grappling match with NICK DIAZ. There were also some rumors about a potential clash with Khabib, but GSP cleared the air, stating that it was all just hype cause of their dream match that never came to fruition. In his words, he said, "I got some name now that came out, and apparently most of the fans in the UFC would like me to grapple against NICK DIAZ. That's the name that comes back most often. My agent talked to the UFC today, this is real fresh news. He told me that Nick was interesting apparently, but Nick is still under contract with the UFC, so he still has another fight apparently in his contract. There will be other big names in the grappling world like Gordon Ryan and some other guys." He then stated that he thinks Bisping, who was once his rival, should take on another living legend, Anderson Silva. But you might be asking, why a grappling match? Why not straight MMA? Well, according to GSP, he's currently 42 years old, he's no longer in his prime, and competing in MMA is not his priority anymore. And that's quite understandable given he did almost everything there is to be done in MMA. He's a 3-time UFC welterweight champion, a 1-time UFC middleweight champion, and a UFC Hall of Famer. That's greatness. And only a few can ever do what he's done in the sport. Before you go, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss out on all the latest news in the world of MMA and combat sports.